Namaste and good morning to all of you. My name is Kuldeep. As a board member on ACC Foundation from last year, it's my privilege and honor to welcome you, all of you, to today's event of groundbreaking ceremony of Garden of Peace and Reflection. Garden of Peace and Reflection was conceptualized as a place of remembrance where people from all walks of life, irrespective of their race and color, can come, meditate, and reflect on forgiveness, compassion, and love and care. For SEC and Hindu society, it's a beginning, it's a significant beginning of an event that is part of our interfaith outreach program and for brotherhood and love. To celebrate this auspicious event with us, we have very important dignitaries and guests with us. Our chief guest for today's event is Honorable Senator Amy Klobuchar. She has been a great community supporter, and we admire her, the values and beliefs she stands for. Thank you, Senator, for your gracious presence, taking time off your busy schedule. We really appreciate it. We also have Mark Stephenson, the Honorable Mayor of the City of Maple Grove, with us. Thank you, sir, for being here. We really appreciate it. We also have Judge Burke from another distinguished guest with us, and their friends and families and children. On behalf of everyone here at SEC, we would like to welcome you wholeheartedly and thank you for being part of this event. Our program for today's event is displayed on the screen. We'll have Dr. Sani speaking here momentarily, followed by a speech by our chief guest, Amy Klobuchar, and also after that we'll have other speakers, Judge Burke, we have Mayor City of Maple Grove, and other guests, followed by closing ceremony by the temple vice president. With that said, I would now request Dr. Sani to make a formal presentation of Garden and Peace. And while he's coming to the stage, I would like to recite a quote from Martin Luther King Jr., which I believe is relevant to today's event. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Thank you.
There are so many wonderful guests to welcome this morning, but I want to identify a couple more before I get going, and that is Mona Doman, who was the police chief who protected us at that particular time. Her successor is going to be here for a long time. And I have to also recognize my friend Peter Cahill, who was a prosecuting attorney, and now he is the judge, so welcome. Thanks, Kuldeep. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining us today for the inauguration of the Garden of Peace and Reflection. Many of you in the audience perhaps know the background and part of the story, but perhaps some of you may not. The complete story, however, has never been told. Let me address first to you as to the why. Why create this Garden of Peace and Reflection? This video is not going to last more than 1 minute and 55 seconds. I cut it down from a long tape that I got to recognize Bridget Borstein, who was kind enough to put multiple clips from WCCO and send it to me without me asking. So I selected a small shot cut from that particular tape. So you'll play that first and then I'll continue, please.
Windows broken, walls smashed, and upstairs, someone rampaged through this very sacred space.
We are very sad. The whole community is very, very sorry about it. Here's some of the worst damage. These sculptures, they were handcrafted to very precise specifications by sculptors who came here from India, and now you can see some of them are in pieces.
It looks like someone broke in through a downstairs window and took a swing every few feet. The church leaders say it does not look like a hate crime, and they have always felt welcomed by this community.
You try to forget something like that, you actually do. Like, I can't even, it's kind of all hazy.
They had no idea that every hand-etched detail, every statue, icon, image has a symbolic meaning.
When we came here, we really didn't know what it was. We were just kind of like, 19, just kind of young and dumb. And
I lived down the road pretty close to here, and we were just anxious to be crazy for the night and just wanted to do something.
This temple that they ransacked a few years ago is now so special to them.
We just really found that the Hindu society they really practice what they preach, and they didn't want to turn us into career criminals. And
they're very forgiving, very, very forgiving. Every time we even come in here, it's just big hugs.
There's a tendency for people to take eye for an eye, which makes the whole world blind.
The Hindu community asked the court for less time behind bars so the men would have a chance to redeem themselves through community service instead, performed here. What started as a tragedy has blossomed into unexpected, true friendships.
But after the arrest of the two young suspects, the community decided they would forgive.
this is, I think, closure to from what we did. I mean, these icons meant so much to him.
Tyler Tomey, now 22, says with the temple's help, he and Paul Spakowski have turned their lives around.
Kind of think about what if this situation never happened to me, or the Hindu society and Dr. Sani weren't so forgiving.
And community leaders say the temple's handling of the ordeal is an example to all.
Very forgiving, and it's I don't know if us Christian churches would have done as well if this had happened to us.
Thank you, Ajit. As you can see, our entire Hindu community was grief-stricken and visibly upset when our sacred icons of worship were undergoing the process of sanctification barely 6 weeks before they were to be installed in the temple, were desecrated. The two confused youngsters, Paul and Tyler, were arrested and prosecuted by then Attorney Peter Cahill and tried in the court of chambers of Honorary Judge Kevin Burke, and were convicted for 3 felonies each. We all are fortunate to live in this great nation that guarantees every individual the freedom to practice his own faith. If the community is harmed in any way, the individuals do not have to fight back on their own for that injustice. Instead, our judicial system addresses those issues based upon the laws of the land. Once Paul and Tyler were convicted, our Hindu community had every right to demand a severe punishment for them. But despite that painful and emotionally shattering experience, our community decided instead to stick to our traditional values of truth, non-violence, love, compassion, kshama, and shanti. Such tolerance is not a sign of weakness, but instead the strength of the community's strong moral character. Kshama and shanti are two critical moral values as stated in Sanskrit. These words cannot be adequately translated in English by a single word like forgiveness. These values go well beyond simple forgiveness. They recognize inherent goodness in everyone, regardless of their actions. It was the strength of our community's character that demanded that we offer these two youngsters an opportunity to redeem themselves by changing their way of life, even though their inappropriate actions deserved punishment. We hoped and prayed that by offering these two wayward teenagers suspended sentences, they would have an opportunity to expunge their 3 felony convictions and become productive citizens rather than turning into hardened criminals by remaining as convicted felons for their entire lives after being incarcerated in the jail system for quite some time. We hope that by performing community service in this very temple that they vandalized, they would learn firsthand the values of love and compassion, kshama, shanti, and non-violence. Our community feels that our prayers have been answered. My wife Kumud, who is in the audience, and I have witnessed the progress that Paul and Tyler have made over the years. They're enrolled in college, they remain drug-free, they're gainfully employed, and grateful for having received a second chance in life. The vision behind this project of Garden of Peace and Reflection is this unique story. As we are coming up on the 10th year anniversary of this historic and noble response of kindness, love and compassion, in order to emphasize the concept ahimsa or non-violence, our Hindu community wants to foster a permanent and positive change in our local communities, and for that matter, the entire world. We want everyone to be inspired by this story and take necessary steps to break the ever-continuing chain of violence in retaliation, with an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. In the phase 1, highlights to respectfully and beautifully landscape the circular burial grounds by using adaptive maple plantations. Yes, she's ready for it. Stone tablets to document the history and moral values of truth, non-violence, love, compassion, kshama and shanti. Access safe steps going to the pond like the classic temples that you see in India. If some of you have not visited, make sure you go and visit it. Landscape walkways, and our architects will use previous pavement across the entire project to assure minimum environmental impact. I have one request. I'm going to move very fast and describe these details. Don't worry about looking at those images. This is just to tease you. I want you to come back, and during the period of exhibits, I want my talented architects who have put their heart and soul to create these beautiful pictures to tell us what's coming in the future, to come and enjoy it and give them recognition, because I really feel really proud of them, and they have put their heart and soul for the last several weeks. Thank you. I've got to recognize Mandakini, Pant, and Madhavi Kulkarni for working very hard on that particular project. I could go on. I don't want to steal their thunder because it's so beautiful. I mean, yesterday I saw for the first time, I seen the pictures on my computer, but they're not the same as seeing a large picture. And if you have the capacity to imagine, as I do as a radiologist, I have to see the images and project as to what the diagnosis is. I hope you'll be able to see those and enjoy them as well. They are going to do in such a way that there will be aeration fountains to maintain water quality and quantity. Pond will be used as a bioretention pond and will prevent sedimentation and stormwater runoff, something that Al Matson will enjoy and Mark Stephenson will recognize. And cost of 3 phases is going to be in the range of first phase will be 300,000, second 300, and third phase is open air amphitheater. And don't go too much of detail, go to the next one. Before we go to the phase 2, let me tell you why we need the phase 2. Ignorance is the root cause of fear. Children in our society, regardless of their faith traditions, in our multi-faith world, must start respecting the other faith traditions, and with that mutual respect, way beyond the simple practice of tolerance. The place of worship must open arms and encourage regular interfaith dialogues. And for that, we would need a dedicated place for such a thoughtful reflections, meditation, and yoga. To quickly summarize the phase 2 highlights, it will be a low-impact building. What do you mean by low impact, Dr. Sani? Low impact means it is beautiful, but it's not going to take away from the magnificent, beautiful temple next door. At the same time, it will be a high-performing building with solar energy, with no other energy source besides that. And that's the beauty of that temple. It will be a tremendous big glass windows, skylights to bring the nature inside. Nature will be both in and out. Well, let's reflect for a moment. We are about 40,000 individuals of Indian upbringing live in these twin cities. We are politically very aware and active. When we had a formal poll for the last 2 years, we recognized 90% of the voting members of our Indian community vote. We are least dependent on the government resources, and only 2.5% are below the poverty line. When we came to this country as legal immigrants, we are looked at as coming from India. Doctors, engineers, IT specialists, scientists, mathematicians, researchers, professors, directors, and what have you. But once we gradually started assimilating in the society and became citizens, the local community got to recognize or know us better than simply the professionals. We were viewed then as intelligent, hardworking, diligent, affable, confident, adventurous, bright, and some of us even decisive. But going a step further, now that many of us have fairly well assimilated in the society, based upon the strength of our moral character, we will generate a new brand name for us in the eyes of the larger community. And the term that comes to my mind is a community builder. We must contribute our time, energy, resources to make certain that every individual, regardless of his faith, reaches his potentials and accomplishes ultimate goal of this human life of finding peace and state of local total contentment. This beautiful garden, based upon the real story, is the perfect solution. I do hope that every one of you would extend your helping hands to make this project a grand success. We have buried those statues, and you can see how the area of garden looks at the present time. If you see the temple, a small corner in the northeast portion of it is the only one that's going to be used for developing these 3 different phases. It looks okay, I don't mean to say it looks bad, but look where it's going to go. If you go to the next one, this, when it's completed, you'll be able to see steps from all sides, the fountains in the middle, a beautiful open amphitheater, a place of meditation, yoga, reflection, interfaith dialogues. And this place will be a place open for our entire community. That's my privilege to introduce our senator, senior senator from the state of Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar, who is here to grace this occasion of inauguration of this garden. Her presence here today, Senator, almost completes the circle of this inspiring and satisfactory story. Senator first visited this place when our temple was vandalized, and when Amy was working as an Hennepin County attorney, remember? Since then, she has become a U.S. Senator and visited us many times. The picture here tells the story of one of her visits as a senator. You can see at the far end is my wife, who was the chairman of the board at that time. In the middle is Maithili Chari, who was the president of the executive committee, who is presently the chairman of the board. And the one who's standing, I don't know. But you know what? Now that she has come here to celebrate the values of love, compassion, Kshama and Shanti, ahimsa and non-violence, I do hope that our senator has an opportunity to come to this place many more times. And she won't say what I'm saying, but one day, hopefully, we'd like to welcome here as a Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America.
It was So cheer everyone up in Washington. Thank you so much, Dr. Sani. And I did want to start out by saying I do not plan to speak for 15 minutes as it said on the PowerPoint presentation. But I do want to thank you, Doctor, for your service to this beautiful temple and all the people that are gathered today. I was just so honored to be invited back, and it felt like Old Homes Week here to see my friends Mona Doman, who was the police chief at the time, the mayor, thank you so much for being here, Judge Burke, his wife Susan, and their daughter, Pete Cahill. I can't tell you that when Pete was chief deputy for me that he handled that many cases himself, so you can see how important this case was. Also, Chief Warner, thank you so much for joining us today. VJ Dixit, who I've gotten to know so well as he and his family as they carry on the important work in the spirit of their daughter to combat distracted driving. Thank you for that. Nearly 40 years, the Hindu Temple and the Hindu Society of Minnesota have met the spiritual needs of your families. And you haven't just provided a place here to gather, you built, as was pointed out, as we just heard from Dr. Sani, you built a community. And you haven't stopped at that because you've extended your hands beyond the walls of this temple into the wider world. You've taken action to serve the poor, to fight for justice and equality, and to preserve Hindu traditions and share them with other Minnesotans, as you can tell by the beginning remarks of Dr. Sani. And as I was sitting here listening today, I was thinking to myself, at a time when our politics are filled with a lot of intolerance, you gave a plea for tolerance. And at a time when our rhetoric in our nation is at a pitch of anger and hostility, especially directed at people from foreign lands, I've decided that people that talk like that need to come and visit the Garden for Peace and Reflection. So I'm sure that you would invite them, no matter how high-ranking they may be, into the garden, and that might be a good idea, as they can see what you have taught the community. As I said, not just in the walls of this temple, but have taught all of us in terms of what tolerance means. And there's nothing that better exemplifies that than how you handled this terrible crime that was committed on these grounds over 10 years ago. I was thinking back to that year of 2006. Okay, VJ, and you're just a little grayer than that time. A few people just maybe look a little different. And then I was also thinking of that anyone that stood up and protected the temple, it was clearly a launching pad for higher office. As Mona is now the State Commissioner of Public Service, Pete is now the Chief Judge of Hennepin County, and I'm your Senator. So I hope that's a lesson to everyone else. And I also just did want to mention one thing, and that was Judge Burke. It's probably not a coincidence that he was assigned to this case, because when I first came into the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, he was running the drug court, and it really, now everyone has drug courts, but back then it was one of the cutting-edge drug courts in the country. And it really took this idea of making someone whole when they committed a crime, a nonviolent crime, and that there are ways that we can deal with people, this whole idea that we like to run things efficiently in government, especially in the criminal justice system. We're not like a business in one important way. We don't like to see repeat customers, right? Judge Burke, with the work he did with so many defendants, helped them to turn their life around with this simple idea that he had faith in their ability to turn their life around. Made a difference not just to the two defendants in this case, but to so many others in our community. So thank you, Judge Burke, for that. Now, in April of 2006, so just to go back to our memory of this case from the prosecutor's office, just days before the grand opening here, two young vandals broke into the temple, shattered the windows, punched holes in the walls and ceilings, and caused more than $200,000 in damage. Worst of all, they desecrated and destroyed, as was pointed out, hand-carved, sanctified deities, which now are buried beneath where the Peace Garden will bloom. I remember how shocked and horrified the entire religious community in the Twin Cities was by this crime, how horrified we were in the courthouse. And so, like we often do in cases, we ask the victims, what do you want to see happen here? And when the two young men were caught and pleaded guilty, in this case, your community asked for leniency. You requested that the perpetrators who had violated not just your property, but your very fundamental beliefs, complete community service here at the temple. You could have demanded harsher punishment. Instead, you chose education. You could have vowed vengeance, as sadly we see, oftentimes, understandably, people are horrified by crimes committed against their property, against their loved ones, but instead you chose compassion. You could have walked the path of judgment. Instead, you walked the path of forgiveness. You put your faith in action, and that faith and that action have literally changed the lives of these two young men that we just saw up there on the screen. I think we know that lots of people do dumb things before they've grown up, and they know better. Certainly Paul and Tyler were no exception. It was just that this particular dumb thing was very destructive and was, in fact, a felony crime. They said they were at the time just in the mood to cause some trouble. They said they didn't know that the building was a temple and they felt bad and that they understood the full extent of what they'd done. But feeling bad, of course, couldn't mend the windows, nor patch the holes, nor restore the deities. But they got a chance to do some of that, thanks to all of you later on. I know that Paul and Tyler got to know the people of the temple very well as they completed more than 200 hours of community service over the course of 3 years. They worked hard, they got their suspended felony convictions expunged, and they paid back some of the damages. Most importantly, they learned and they grew. They made the most of the opportunity, and the people of this temple provided that to them. And they made friendships that will last a lifetime. Dr. Sani shared an email that he sent to Paul and Tyler. I was touched by what he wrote, and I'll share it with you. He said, "We could not be more proud of you. When your youthful transgressions were dealt with kindness, you two intelligent youngsters changed your lives dramatically and honestly to our delight." I don't know how many victims of crime refer to our defendants as youngsters. Okay, that's a new twist. Both of you enrolled in college, got good educations, received training in the fields of your choice, and became productive and contributing citizens. Kindness and compassion really can change lives. And thank you for showing that to us once again. I've always thought that one of the most beautiful concepts in Hinduism is found in the simple greeting that my dad loves from all of his visits in the area is Namaste. And that means that the God within me acknowledges the God within you. And when your community looked at Paul and when you looked at Tyler, you could have seen two criminals who deserved to be locked up for a long, long time. Instead, you saw the God within each of them. You saw a chance to put your faith into action, and through those actions, you've changed their lives. Thank you so much for offering Paul and Tyler that divine grace. Once again, you have taught all of us, all of these police that are here and elected officials and judges a lesson as well. And my hope is that this kind of civility and tolerance towards those around us will not just be the exception in our community and in our nation, but the norm. Thank you very much.
Call on Judge Kevin Burke to make a few comments. I had the privilege, if you want to call that, to appear in his court and address him and share with him our feelings of our community. And he was kind enough to let me go home on that day without putting me in the system. So welcome, Judge. Thank you.
My daughter will love this. I've been lucky to be in the criminal justice system for 31 years. And there are two people who have had an enormous positive impact in Hennepin County to make it a better place. Amy Klobuchar was a really very effective county attorney. As a judge, I can't make comments about politics. I can encourage you to read her book. She's really a very good person. You see, I think when she talked to you about what the Hindu community said, one of the hallmarks of her very effective leadership was she listened. You know, we're in an era in which there are political people who use other people's tragedies to advance in their own political goals. And that's corrupt. We can't stand that kind of stuff. And the other person I think that needs to be really recognized is Pete Cahill. Pete is presently the chief judge in Hennepin County. He was a very effective prosecutor. He was a defense lawyer before that. As some of you know, I was the chief judge, and I would like to basically say Pete is the second best chief judge we've ever had in Hennepin County. We're in an era in which there's a huge amount of cynicism about the criminal justice system. A Gallup poll just recently indicated that 70% of the American public believe that government is corrupt. If you want to show the differences, in Great Britain it's about 30%. In Australia, it's about 25%. There's just this big, terrible cynicism about government that needs to be addressed. I mean, the problem is, in the next year or so, we're going to see over $1 billion of ads, maybe $2 billion of ads, almost all directed towards suggesting there's going to be this apocalypse and government isn't going to work. In the court system, only 57% of the American public believe that we're fair and impartial, and 39% of the people simply describe us as intimidating. We don't listen very effectively, and we need role models outside of the criminal justice system, and that's a testament to the people who are building this event today, how they acted 10 years ago. But I also thought that the doctor said something really pretty important. I hope that you leave this today not simply committed to a place, but to use what the doctor said is, the people in this room are politically powerful. We need champions in this state to hold the criminal justice system accountable, to make it more effective, to make the word compassion not be some little trivial kind of thing in which we don't want compassionate people. I'll kind of close with this is, when George Bush nominated Clarence Thomas for the Supreme Court, he said one of the values that Clarence Thomas had, and why he was selected, was he had empathy. And I want to be really candid with you. I'm not so sure he was right. But I want to show you where our country has gone when Barack Obama nominated Justice Sotomayor. She was attacked because of the value of empathy. Okay? A really good system of government and a very effective system of criminal justice has to have values of compassion and empathy. We have to be willing to take risks on people. They will not always come out. And the bottom line is, if you want to go to look at courage, Amy Klobuchar and Pete Cahill had the courage to listen and to take a chance. Worked out great. But the bottom line is, these two people could have ended up and gone and taken out a Lutheran church, and they would have been roasted. So I think that we need to have empathy, courage, and compassion. And my hope for you is not simply that we have a great garden and a great place to go, but you use all of your political power to move this state to have a better and more effective criminal justice system. Thank you.
Well, I hope we'll hear some comments from our mayor of the city of Maple Grove, Mark Stephenson. I recently got to know him in the year 2001, and he has been mayor of this city since that time. And ever since his office told that we should come to their place in 2020 to talk about plans of this particular place. Ever since that time. And it was his leap of faith that he and his team was able to give us the permission to build the temple, and the rest is history. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Doctor. It's my great pleasure to be here today, and thank you, Dr. Sen, and the rest of the temple community for inviting me to speak. Certainly it has been a long journey for us, and we're very, very proud that you made this temple part of our community, and we thank you for that. I remember the day when this happened. It was in April 2006. It was, at the time, a horrible day for our community. Obviously, a set of despicable acts had occurred in this community that were hard to explain, they were hard to understand. But from that set of despicable acts have come a great result. One couldn't have imagined at the time that the community wouldn't be seeking retribution for these acts, that they wouldn't be seeking some type of justice, of vengeance, or some way that these perpetrators would spend significant time in jail and learn from that mistakes. But instead, based on your faith and based on who you were, you approached the situation with one of forgiveness, one of tolerance, one of love and compassion for the two who committed these crimes. And because of that forgiveness and compassion, both of those individuals today are very productive and good members of our community. And if certainly you hadn't approached it in that fashion, we wouldn't have this event today, and we wouldn't have that situation existing for those two individuals. And so I really have to thank you for your approach, for your values as you've approached this situation. Your love and compassion has allowed that these two individuals seek and obtain redemption for their wrongful acts. Obviously, they have been able to learn from it, but we as a community have learned from it as well. And I think that when you talk about becoming community builders, and that's what you aim to be through these actions here, then and up and through today and into the future, you are demonstrating how we can become community builders. And so I want to thank you on behalf of the community, because you are making our community a better place to be, a better place to live, and through your acts you show us how we can be better citizens and be better members of our community as well. So thank you, Dr. Simon.
My name is Paul Spakowski, and my name is Tyler Toomey. My wife and myself have been having lunch with these youngsters, now young men, every year since that tragic incident. And I've been talking with both of them either on telephone, text, or emails every day for the last 7 days. One day they say they will come, one day say, no, Dr. Sani, I feel a little uncomfortable. One of the reasons they were concerned simply was not because they don't feel comfortable with our community. They said, anytime you want to go out for anything to do together as a small group, we'll be there with you anytime. But what they're worried about is the beauty of our advancing technology. He said, if we appear there, the news media and the social media will pester them for a very, very long time. So that was their concern, that they said, I would rather not be there in person, but please share our story. Paul had a good college education, and at the present time he works in the church. He has got 2 children, one recently born in September. And he said, maybe I'm going to have a couple more. He doesn't know what it means. But and what he said, maybe I'll adopt 2. I'll have a chat with him afterwards. But he is a volunteer, works in a church, and he's made his life really enjoyable. Both he and his wife work very hard, and they have 2 beautiful children. And Tyler is a hardworking guy. He had his education in the Dunwoody School of Technical College, and is extremely good with hands. That is, you saw the work on the walls of the temple some time back, but I think he has refined his skills ever since, and he has become, he's holding a good job, earns well, and he's happy. Again, his explanation was exactly the same. The boys decided that they're either both going to come or not come, and they asked me to share with you that they're doing well. They're extremely grateful to the community for giving them a second chance. We are happy where we are thanks to you. But I think to me, it basically shows that when the judicial system is able to be open about using the individual judgments and give these opportunities to the youngsters, our community gets better. When they are mandated sentences, we get into trouble. There's a song in Hindi, and don't worry about it, my voice is terrible, so I won't sing, but I'll translate in English. It says that the one who never falls down is not the winner, but one who falls down and gets up and starts walking again, he is the winner. To me, these 2 youngsters fell down, but with the help and their inner strength, were able to get up and start walking and become the product system. For them, and in our mind, they are the winners. That's Paul and Tyler. Let's give them a big hand. What you just got out was just the envelopes. Basically, you just write down your name, whatever you want to donate, want to spread, that's fine. But what I want you to do is, I want you to follow us as we lead the people for the groundbreaking ceremony. And when that is done, then make sure that you come back to the exhibits and enjoy, and make sure, admire the beautiful work of my talented architects who have spent months to put it together. So I think we will lead the guests first and go to the groundbreaking ceremony, and please follow us systematically. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes. It's right where the photographers are standing. We have small circle of flowers here. Okay. Okay.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right underneath the tree. Okay.
Oh, right here. Oh, just take the flowers.
No, you dig in the ground.
The ground.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's go. I think the mayor will have to.
Come on, Mayor.
I think she needs lots of help.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Oh, there you go.
He's been working at home, I can see.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
All right, complete the job.
Okay, I can get
All right. All right.
I'll do it the old fashioned circle.
Okay. He knows. Yes, done many of them. Hey, Mark.
Yes?
Afterwards, I have a place at my home. And All right.
Oh, I got this. Okay, good. Did you get the mayor doing it?
I need one more and I'll help you. Okay. You do the first part. I was hoping I'll take the second part.
Somebody's head.
No, I make people do that.
He was? See, it's not as easy as people think. I just like to point that out for everyone, yeah.
There we go. Which one? No.
Thank you.
I want them appropriate.
Visitors. Yeah.
Yeah,
same. Sometimes you agree with them, sometimes you laugh, sometimes with honest.
What are you talking about? Most of them were. I found like 2 or 3 times. You got 7. Most of them were pictures of the crowds.
Hopefully I'll do better at this. Cake cutting. Don't need help, although it is a cookie of some kind. Okay, so cake cake. Okay, here we go. Okay. Oh, that's a cookie cake. Okay. Okay. Who wants the first piece? Yeah. Do we go like that? Okay.
You can see a big smile on her face.
Wow.
For the garden of peace and reflection.
That was a good moment.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Come here for a second.
I think solar is the new way to go.
It is. There's
the new way to go.
the airport in India went solar, right?
Yes. And did you know, when you're talking about interfaith, a lot of ashrams, they dedicate their home with solar. They all have solar panels. I wish we could do them. It's like
you need the infrastructure, you need a lot of awareness, and you need the, so this is how the site looks right now. If you this is the Google Earth shot of our temple. This is the temple. So this is in this corner. Currently, there's like a big pond, this burial garden, and a path to the burial garden. There's a rose garden. But our vision is in 3 phases. We are going to rebuild this area, but do it in a very sustainable way, low impact, environmentally friendly, but high performance. So this is phase 1. One step would go down and getting inspiration from the kundas, the ponds in India and the steps that go down, and our culture has a lot of water-related things, different locations you go and the surgeon or baths or whatever it is. We'll do this stepped entry into the pond. So this is phase 1. And for sustainable, for low impact, we are going to have permeable pavers where the water goes into the ground and collecting on the surface. Native adapted plants to attract birds, insects, create a local ecosystem. All these different kinds of paving systems to enhance the space. Phase 2 is community/meditation hall. So it's in this corner. So phase 1 is done, phase 2. And we see it as low impact, high performing building. So we want to do a lot of lights.
Okay.
So a lot of windows, skylights, sort of bringing inside and outside together. In summers, you can open these big doors and this hardscape outside can be part of the inside. And then we plan to have solar panels and have almost all, if possible, energy from those. And so it sits here with a view to the pond. We have a ramp entry and steps entry, and be something that people can use to gather and meditate. So phase 3 is finishing up the site. So we'll do the rest of the landscaping, and we'll do an open air theater.
Okay.
So the site on this site slopes naturally. So it's something like that can be used for lectures, sound shows, just community gathering.
Meditation.
Yeah, meditation. This part slopes down, so it provides a natural step for the amphitheater. Local talents can come and perform. You can, people can come and lecture, or just use it in whatever way the community wants to. So then this is our master plan. This is how the overall is going to look like.
Okay.
And one of the big important things was fixing we have a fountain there, but it's not used as much. But putting a new one that helps to aerate the pond by circulating the water. And we also, bioretention is a big part of Minnesota's state. They want to keep the water fresh. They want to prevent sedimentation, so runoffs going into the pond. So these landscaping elements will hold that. The water will circulate and keep it clean. So yeah, so once you have this whole thing, it'll be beautiful.
Yes.